Another very important theme of the Haskalah, which also raised some paradoxes and dilemmas, was a true hatred and contempt of Yiddish, which was seen as a symbol of Jewish moral degradation. Now keep in mind that at the beginning of the 19th century, Yiddish was the vernacular of Ashkenazi Jewry, not just in Eastern Europe, but in Germany, all the way into Alsace. By the mid-19th century, Western Yiddish has largely disappeared. But why this contempt of Yiddish? Why this contempt for Yiddish? Remember that one of the important themes which the Maskilim took from the European Enlightenment, and especially from the German Enlightenment, was this notion of the interdependence of language and morality. That true virtue, true morality, true self-fulfillment is indistinguishable from expressing yourself well, from expressing yourself in a pleasing, a beautiful and finished way. Herder and Goethe and Schiller had all underscored the critical role of proper language for the moral uplift of an individual and for the progress of the German people, who didn't necessarily need a state, but who, like the ancient Greeks, could find their fatherland in poetry and in culture. That fascination with language and that notion that a moral, educated person had to speak well was translated into this concept of Bildung, B-I-L-D-U-N-G. This German notion, which is more than education, more than cultivation, which means not just knowing facts, but being truly cultured, having, in the Kantian sense, overcome your natural fears and limitations, and acquired a certain degree of autonomy and creativity, a notion which has very little to do with politics directly, with democracy, but has a lot to do with individual development. And so we have such things as the Bildungsroman, a story of education, Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, and we have Bildung becoming the unofficial religion of German Jewry, both in Germany and in Washington Heights, when they moved there in the 1930s. Now, it follows, therefore, that given this new concern with language as a source of uplift and individual development, Yiddish was seen as the epitome of Jewish degradation. It was seen as an ugly dialect. It was seen as a hodgepodge. It was seen as something that had no rules. And yet, there was a great irony in that for the Maskilim to reach the Jewish masses, especially in Eastern Europe, they couldn't do it with Hebrew. They couldn't do it with Polish or Russian. They needed to do it with Yiddish. Now, I'll get back to that in a moment. The Maskilim, as you can see from Yehuda Leib Gordon, favored not just the vernacular language, but they paid special attention to Hebrew. The Maskilim saw Hebrew as proof that once upon a time the Jews were a real people. And they created a language of beauty, that Hebrew was the birthright of the Jews and had to be preserved and taught. And in keeping with the beauty of Hebrew, it demanded respect. Respect meaning that it be taught in a systematic way, and that it be taught in such a way that Jewish children be exposed to such masterpieces as the Song of Songs, the Book of Ruth, the books of the prophets, texts which didn't feature prominently in Jewish education up to that time.